Myself, Dr. Deepali Amle, Professor and HOD, Rognidan Department, CSMSS Ayurved College, Aurangabad, Maharashtra. I express my heartfelt wishes to Indo-Nepal Cooperation Campaign, Shri Siddhivinayak Ayurved Panchakarma Center, Aurangabad, Atharva Multispeciality Ayurved Hospital, Rajkot, and Atharva Life Science Academy and Research Foundation. Here I appreciate the goal set by the organizers, Dr. Bhairav Taushikar, Dr. Ramdev Pandit, Dr. Gauranga Joshi, by organizing the webinar series Narayani 2020. And it's my immense pleasure to explore the outcomes in diagnostic approach to PCOS in Ayurvedic perspectives. रोगम आदौ परीक्षयेत ततो नंतरम औषधम ततः कर्म भिषक पश्चात ज्ञानपूर्वम समाचरेत. Charkacharya in Maharogadhyay Sutrasthan 20 has explained every disease has to be examined first. That is Vyadhi Jnanopay, which is explained in fivefold Nidan Panchakas. First, Rogam Ado Parikshayet, Tato Nantaram Aushadam. And in Yoni Vapad Adhyay, he explained Anukta Vyadhi. Anukta means what? Unsaid, uttered, which is not directly or specifically said in Ayurvedic text. And nowadays we are seeing so many Anukta Vyadhis. Even COVID-19 is one of them. So to understand, analyze and apply our three sutras, that is Hetu, Linga and Aushad, it is the need of present era. So we have to unfold these Anukta Vyadhi. So Charkacharya has explained, Rogo ye api yatra na uddishtaha bahutvat namarupataha tesham api eva syat doshadinam vikshveshajam. So in these diseases we have to explore Vyadhi Ghataka. These Vyadhi Ghatakas are Dosh, Dusha, Am, Agni, Srotas. Wherever Vikruti is explained, wherever we can identify the Vikruti, we can explore it. So now what is PCOS? PCOS means Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Poly means many, multiple, several, more. Cystic means an abnormal sac containing gas, fluid or semi-solid material. Ovary, one of the reproductive organ you all know. And syndrome means a set of symptoms. Initially, it was first described in 1935 by Stein and Leventhan. It is called as Stein-Leventhan syndrome for many years. Then it is named as PCOD, as it is related to infertility only. But when it is clearly understand that this is a disease of hormonal imbalance and it starts with puberty, rather it starts in fetal life and manifests during adolescent and it ends up to the age of menopause. It always relates with HPO axis, hypothalamus pituitary ovarian axis, so it is named PCOS afterwards. So PCOS is merely reproductive disorder and it is endocrinological disorder also affecting women in their reproductive years, that is from menarche to menopause. So polycystic ovarian syndrome is a condition that affects women's all hormonal levels. And women with PCOS produce higher than normal amount of male hormone also. And this hormone imbalance causes them to skip menstrual periods and makes it harder for them to get pregnant. So if we see the prevalence of this disease, near about in this fertile age, that is from menopause to menarche to menopause, near about 6% female population is involved in this PCOS or they are suffering from this PCOS. From in this 6%, near about 50% are in the age group of 20 to 30 years. 60% present with anovulation. Near about 90% females are present with hirsutism, that is hairs on face, chin, chest, etc. And near about 80% are females present with obesity. So infertility is in only 30% females, but other hormonal imbalance are seen in this polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so it may clinically be manifested in young women as oligoovulation, biochemical or clinical hyperandrogenism, hirsutism, male pattern baldness, acne, acanthosis nigricans, polycystic ovaries, etc. Some females may suffer from hyperinsulinemia, obesity, dyslipidemia related to decrease high density lipoproteins, cholesterols, and hypertriglycemias. So, when we consider this PCOS on our Ayurvedic perspective, so we have to take in our mind the basic concepts explained by Charkacharya. That is sa eva kupito doshaha samuthana visheshaha sthanantaragataishchaiva janayet amayan bahu. Means whenever there is prakop of this dosha, because of their samuthana visheshaha, they changes their roots and transfer, that is sthanantargatascha, and janayet amayan. They forms different diseases. And there, every chikitsak has to concentrate on tasmat vikara prakruti. What is the vikara prakruti of these dosha? What is then adhishthantaranicha? What is adhisthana of these dosh visheshaha? Samuthana visheshascha budhva karma samacharet. These karma are to be explained on these dosha vikruti, dusha vikruti, that means dhatu, upadhatu vikruti, srotas vikruti, and then it has to be explored on these perspectives. So, while looking into the Samhitas, PCOS features are closely relates with different Yoni Vapadas. It correlates with basically Jata Harini, Pushpagni, Revati explained in Kashyap Samhita, and Vandhya Yoni Vapad. Nashtartav is the cardinal feature. So, Nashtartav is explained by Acharyas separately. And some features merely bring into the relation with Artav Dushti. So again, from Ayurvedic point of view, it is a syndrome. It has so many, there are so many changes in dosha, dhatu, and so it will manifest as a syndrome. Before seeing the PCOS, we should know about the concept of Artav. Artav itself denotes whole cyclic changes in female regarding the reproductive function. So here word Artava in Samhita, it is explained 3 parts. First, menstrual blood, then ovum and ovarian hormones. If suppose we see Artav as a menstrual bleeding, then there Sushruta has explained Sashasruka pratimam yatto yadva laksha rasopaham tad artavam prashasyanti yad vaso na viranjayet. So, Artav has been explained as menstrual blood. Again, Granthakaras had explained Artav as a ovum. Evam masena rasa shukram strinam cha artamam bhavati. So, it is upadhatu of rasadhatu and it is shukra of stri, that is Artav. And it can be correlated with the ovum. And then it can be explained as a ovarian hormone, that is Rutubhavam Artavam, Rutustu Nishkasta Bijasya Phalam. Rutukal, whenever there is Rutukal in the female, at that time Bijasya Phal, it is expelled out. That is again Artav. And for this expelled out phenomenon, hormones are needed. That is luteinizing hormone, FSH, LH. So here Vagbhata says the occurrence of Artava is periodical. That is, while commenting on the Samayoga of Shukra and Artava, Dallhana has described the Swarup of Artava. It is Alpa, Styanibhuta, Sukshma and Asanchari. So Vagbhata has explained Artava as a periodical phenomenon. That means there is Rutu Chakra. So when we see the concept of Artava, we see the Artava as a Upadhatu of Rasadhatu. It is Tej Mahabhuta Pradhan, Agneya in nature. It is Rakta Kamala Swarup, Laksha Rasa Swarup, Indragopa Swarup. It has Vistra, Amagandhitva. Its Praman is 4 Anjali and Anushna Shit. So, while we see the Sanghatan of this Artava, the Artava is a composition of Panchabhautikatvam, where the predominance of Prithvi, Jala and Tej Mahabhut is there. Vayu helps in its regular generation and its flow, where Akash Mahabhut gives it is the necessary space and Laghutva. Now we will see about Artava Chakra in short, because after seeing this Artava Chakra only we can come to know we can understand the PCOS very neatly. So Artava Chakra, according to Vagbhata, it is explained in 3 parts, that is Rajasrav, Rutukal and Rutuvyatikal. So Rajakal, during this period, the stuff accumulated in the uterus during the previous period of fertility is eliminated. It is known as Purana Raja. And this accumulated Raja is eliminated from the uterus, that is, it is of 4 Anjali. And here, if we see the Dosha Pradhanyatva, there is Vata Dosha Pradhanyatva. So this phase is influenced by Vayu. And this Vata Prakop is responsible for the start of this phase. As soon as menstruation starts, Pitta starts coming to its normal stage, that is Pitta Shaman has been seen. As Pitta decreases, Kapha automatically comes in action and stage of Kapha Chaya comes. This function of Vayu is the movement of any substance from one place to another. So by the Chalagunatva, it expelled out this Purana Raja. So in this Rajasrav phase, Dosha predominance is Vata Prakop, Kapha Sanchay and Pitta Shaman. Then next stage comes, that is Rutukal. Rutukal is from 6th to 16 days of the menstrual cycle. And it is most suitable phase for the achievement of conception. So it is also called as the fertile period. So it is known as Rutukal. So here mainly Kapha influences this phase. Initially, Kapha starts increasing in Rajakal as Chaya of Kapha. And during this Rutukal, Kapha reaches to its peaks, that is Kapha Prakopa. And level of Pitta here starts just increasing, and after latter half of this Rutukal, Pitta Chaya starts to happen. So during this whole phase, Vata is at its normal level, and the stage here Vata Shaman we can see. So see, in Rutukal, Kapha is important. So Kapha is essential for regeneration and growth. Rutukal is a period resembling to proliferative phase. Thus, Ayurvedic physiology of Kapha Prakop and Vata Shaman during this Kapha Kal is self-explanatory for the various changes taking place during this phase. And Kapha always acts through Rasadhatu because it is Mala of Rasadhatu. So we have to keep in mind while seeing the menstrual cycle. So we see Dosha dominance is in Rutukal is Kapha Prakop, Pitta Chaya and Vata Shaman. After this Rutukal, we see the next phase, that is Rutu Vyatitakal. Rutu Vyatitakal it is from 17 to 28 days. As lotus flower closes after sunset, we all know. Similarly, after Rutukal, the yoni of woman gets constricted and does not accept Shukra. So, Rutuvyatita Kal here, if we see the dosha predominance, it is mainly influenced by Pitta. The level of Pitta start increasing at the end of Rutukal and it comes to its peak in Rutuvyatita Kal. So, during the latter period of this stage, Vat comes into the action. And here, Pitta Prakop with Vatachaya is the phenomenon. So, this is the phase which resembles the secretory phase by influenced by Pitta and Rakta. So, here dosha predominance we see, that is it is Pitta Prakop, Vatachaya and Kapha Shaman. Now, we will compare the cycles. So, normal menstrual cycle and PCOS menstrual cycle, female having PCOS, here menstrual cycle, how the changes will occur, and we will try to correlate with it with Ayurveda. So, normal cycle day 0 to 5. Here LH, FSH produce follicles in ovary around egg and they produce estrogen hormone. In PCOS, there is low level of LH and FSH, therefore low chance of healthy follicles and low level of estrogen production. So follicles, they are, maybe they get mature, but there is immature egg in that follicles. Then in normal cycle, in day 6 to 14, or we say day 6 to 16, uterine lining thins, cervix lining is thin and watery, dominant follicle is ready with mature egg, enzymes breaks of follicles, mature eggs goes to fallopian tubes and uterus filled with nutrients. Now, in what happens in PCOS cycle? In day 6 to 16, no dominant follicle, there is no secretion of estrogen in blood, no mature egg, so follicle does not break. So immature egg can't travel to fallopian tubes, uterus, cervix. Okay. So this is a phase where there is kapha predominance, and this vitiated kapha causes kapha vritta vayu, because in first 0 to 5 days there is vata prakop, and in second phase normally we expect vata shaya or vata shamana physiologically, but there is no vata shaman. This vata is also vitiated and it causes kapha vritta vayu. So particularly this is the concept when PCOS in PCOS cycle. And now in last stage, that is luteal phase, that is from day 16 to 28, egg starts moving through the tube, uterine thickness, cervix is thick, eggs passes out of the uterus and there are periods. In PCOS cycle, what happens? Egg does not pass through the tube, so there is no egg in the uterus, and so egg does not pass out through uterus, there are missed periods. So we can see there is again kapha vritta vayu and it is associated with pitta prakop. So this cycle we have to understand in light of normal cycle, PCOS cycle, and as per Ayurveda, Rutu Chakra. So while considering this disease PCOS, according to Ayurveda, we have to examine it on fivefold examination system, that is Nidan Panchak, because Nidan Panchak is Vyadhijnanopay. So in Ayurveda, majority of gynecological orders, they have been described under the heading Yoni Vapad or Arthadushti or Revatis as per Kashyap Samhita. So in Kashyap Kalpasthan, Revati, Kalpadhyay, Pushpagni and Jatharagni Revatis are explained. And here they explained Vrutha Pushpam Tuya Narim Yatha Kalam Prapashyati. Vrutha Pushpam. Vruthapushpam means anovulation. Vruthapushpam. Tuya nari. Yatha kalam prapashyati. Sthula lomagandasha. That nari is sthul, obese. Lomagandasha. Lomagandasha means hairy chin, hirsutism. So, here in Kashyap, Pushpagni Jataharini Yoni Vapat resembles with this and PCOS, where Vrutha Pushpam, that is anovulation, then Sthulatva, Lomashaganda means hirsutism. They are the major symptoms. Now Acharya Sushruta has described many Yoni Vapadas where Vandhya Yoni will be considered, where basic main feature is Nashtartav. Then if we see the 8 disorders of Artava, Nashtartav has been given separately by Acharya Sushruta, and in this condition Artav is not totally destroyed, but it is not evident due to obstruction of its channels. So Acharya says the passage is encircled by Vata and Kapha and ultimately results in amenorrhea. So this is what there is resemblance with PCOS and Pushpagni, Jataharini, Vandhya Yoni Vapat and Artava Kshaya or Artava Nash. Now we will see the etiological factors of PCOS. Genetic susceptibility, insulin resistance and obesity is the trigger for PCOS. So in genetical susceptibilities, many studies shows that PCOS runs in families. It's like many genes are involved or contribute to this condition. Now insulin resistance, near about 70% women with PCOS have insulin resistance, meaning that their cells can't use insulin properly. When cells can't use insulin properly, then extra insulin is secreted from the pancreas, and this extra insulin triggers the ovaries to produce more male hormones. And the main etiological cause is obesity. Obesity is a major cause of insulin resistance, and both obesity and insulin resistance increase the risk of PCOS. So these are the major etiological factors. Now in Ayurvedic perspective, it is explained that mithyacharena tah srinam pradushtena artavena cha jayante bijadoshascha daivacha shrunutah pruthuk. That means mithyachar. Mithyachar means what? We can see here mithya ahar and mithya vihar. So mithya ahar and mithya vihar means what? Mithya ahar means what? Anashana, vishamashana, viruddhashana. In this present era, we can say it as a pizza, burger, bread, cold drinks, spicy, oily, junk food consumption. So this is mithya ahar. Mithya vihar, that means abnormal lifestyle. Here we can say faulty habits of sleep, divaswap, ratri jagaran, vegavarod. Then we can see here different stress, competition pressure, manasik bhav like irsha, krodh, dvesh. These all are mithyachar. So mithya ahar and mithya vihar. These are the concepts which are included under mithyachar. Then pradushta artavaha. Ashtanga Sangrahakara has explained, Ghruta shiradi nityastu muditastu kafam masu artavam tishtati sthiram viparita swanyatha. If suppose in Nitya Sevan, Ghruta Shira has taken as a Rasayan Dravya, as a Rasayan Ahariya Dravya, and Muditastu, if suppose female is in pleasant mood, and Kafat Masu, yani having Kafa balancing diet, then Artava Tishtati Sthiram. Viparitastu, if suppose these all things are neglected, then there is Vikruti in Artava, that is Pradushta Artavaha. So in Pradushta Artava, Kapha Prakopak Hetu are the main predominant etiological factors. So the word Artava should be regarded for, we know, that is as a ovum, that is Dushti of Antapushpa. And here, Rasavaha Srotodushti Hetus are explained for this Rasadushti. That is Guru Shitam, Ati Snigdham, Ati Matram Samashnatam, Rasvahini Dushanti, Chintanam, Ati Chintanat, where Oham produced, that is Antapushpa, is having its Dushti. And if we consider Artav as a menstrual bleeding, then it is Bahipushpa, then all Vataprakopas Hetu are more responsible with Kafadushti Karahar Vihara. So this is one of the basic concept. Then Bijadosh, that is Jayante Bijadoshascha. Charaka has stated this. Jayante Bijadoshascha Daivascha Shrunu. Various chromosomal and genetic abnormalities comes under these headings. And Daiva, that means unknown etiological factors. They are also responsible for PCOS. So, PCOS affects women's ovaries. This is the main feature. We see ovaries are, while understanding the pathogenesis of PCOS, we see ovaries are the reproductive organs that produce estrogen and progesterone hormones that regulates the menstrual cycle. We everyone know. The ovaries also produce a small amount of male hormone called androgen. The ovaries release eggs and it is to be get fertilized. And for this release of this each egg, for every month, there is follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. These both hormones control ovulation. That is, FSH stimulates the ovary to produce a follicle, a sac that contain an egg, and then LH triggers the ovary to release a mature egg. So this is a physiology. Now what happens in PCOS? So in PCOS syndrome, many small fluid-filled sacs grow inside the ovaries. So these sacs are actually follicles, each one containing an immature egg, and the egg never mature enough to trigger ovulation. So the lack of ovulation alters level of estrogen, progesterone, FSH and LH. We have seen how physiologically these four hormones are very important. Estrogen and progesterone levels are lower than usual, while androgen levels are higher than usual. And here, extra male hormones disrupt the menstrual cycle. And so, women with PCOS get fewer periods than usual. And it is said that near about 8 periods per year are seen in PCOS. Here again, pathophysiology of this PCOS is triggered by abnormality of HPO axis, that is hormonal imbalance. Then hyperinsulinemia, that means hyperinsulin levels in blood arising from the receptors dysfunction. And hyperadrenogenemia, that means hypersecretion of adrenogen hormone, that is male hormone, from the adrenal and ovaries. And genetic susceptibility. So pathophysiology based on these three. Now what happens in Samprapti of PCOS? If we consider this Samprapti and we will try to elaborate this Samprapti in our perspectives, Ayurvedic perspectives, we know this Artav is explained as menstrual blood, oham and ovarian hormones. If we suppose this Artav as a menstrual blood, then in Nashtartav, due to obstruction of Artava Srotas by Vata and Kapha, that is dosh passage of dosh are responsible for obstruction. Which dosh? So Kapha and Vayu, they are responsible for obstruction in passage of Artav carrying channels, and Artav is not apparent monthly as in normal menstrual cycle. and this results in amenorrhea. If we consider this artavazo-ohum, then Nashtartav is an anovulatory cycle which causes infertility. So we can consider Pushpagni, Jataharini, Vandhya in females suffering from PCOS, and there are anovulatory cycles where menstrual flow may be normal or may not be normal. So this is second concept. And if we suppose Artava as ovarian hormones, then Avarana should be considered. In context of Avarana by Dosh, here Kafavritta Vat, that is Kafavritta Vata Avaran, disrupts homeostasis of HPO axis and causing hormonal imbalance leading to PCOS. Here we can see Pushpagni and Jataharini yoni vapor. So here Kafavritta Vayu is responsible for styanatva of a cough, and this styanakafva forms the uterine lining, and we can see the thickened endometrium in these PCOS females. So collectively we can say the samprapti of PCOS as under. This is all in my perspective only. So the sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise, excessive intake of food, changing quality of food, then sleep disorders or sleep apnea leads to kapha prakop. So mental conditions like chinta, krodh, sadness, stress, excessive thoughts leads to vat prakop. Again, Vatakara Ahar Vihar is also responsible. Ruksha Shita. This vitiated doshas leads to vitiation of Agni. Here we see vitiated Agnis are Rasadhatvagni, Raktadhatvagni and Medadhatvagni mainly. So, mainly these vitiated Dhatvagnis are responsible for vitiation of Rasadhatu, Raktadhatu and Medadhatu in association with Asti and Shukradhatu also. And ultimately Artav Upadhatu of Rasadhatu with Rasavah, Raktavah and Artavah Srotas Vikruti we can easily locate. So PCOS is a disorder involving Vata and Kapha dosh along with Rasa, Meda and Raktadhatu. It is Rakta Pradoshaja and Santarpanotha Vyadhi, where Rasavaha, Raktavaha, Artavaha Srotas is main, Rasavaha, Raktavaha and Annavaha Srotas may be found to be involved. And so here we can explain this pathogenesis on 3 parameters which I have said initially that Charkacharya has stated, that is Vikara Prakruti, that is disease and its predominant constitution. So here we can say amenorrhea, oligomenorrhea, that is Vikara Prakruti. Then Adhisthana Vikruti, that is variation in the site of the disease, that means cystic ovaries, polycystic ovaries, that is ovaries are get infected, having sthana vikruti, and skin also, as hirsutism is one of the cause. And samutthana visheshaha, as it is kapha and vata predominant, then it is amashaya and pakvashaya samudbhava vyadhi. We have to take care of both sthanas. So this is a pathogenesis or samprapti vigatan of PCOS as per my views. Now, common symptoms of PCOS. Some women start seeing symptoms around the time of the first period. Some may discover the PCOS after they have gained a lot of weight, or some have had trouble in getting pregnant. At that time, we can see these common symptoms of PCOS. They are irregular periods. Irregular periods, here we see a lack of ovulation. It prevents the uterine lining from shedding every month, and these are due to increased level of endometrial and follicular activity. Approximately 100% of patients with PCOS are considered to be anovulatory or oligomenorrhea. Some women with PCOS get fewer than 8 periods a year. Then it reflects with heavy bleeding. The uterine lining builds for a longer period of time. So the periods can be heavier than normal. Then hyperthecosis is major cause here, because hyperplasia of the theca interna of the ovary is the basic cause. It relates with overproduction of androgen, which reduce granulosa cell proliferation and maturation of again granulosa cells, and this stimulates fibrosis of surrounding stoma and capsule. So ovulation may occur intermittently. So in one cycle you can see ovulation, in another cycle there is missed ovulation. So these are about irregular periods, and because of that there is infertility. The elevated LH levels, deficient progesterone secretion, abnormal embryo from artiestic oocytes, and abnormal endometrium, these are the triggers, and these all contribute in infertility. Again, we see the hirsutism, that is excessive hair growth. More than 70% women with this condition grow hair on their face, body, including their back, belly, chest. This excessive hair growth is called as hirsutism. Then acne. Male hormone can make the skin oilier. That is, androgen make the skin oilier. And this causes breakouts on areas like the face, chest and upper back. And this is very common and good indication for hyperandrogenism. And this is present in about 1/3 of PCOS female. Then weight gain is another symptom. Up to 80% of women with PCOS are overweight or obese. This obesity is typically centripetal, related with truncal and abdominal obesity. So it is demonstrated by increased hip-waist ratio. Women with central fat have high level of LH, and estrogen, insulin, triglycerides and VLDL, very low density lipoproteins, they are also in higher level. Then next we can see patient with male pattern baldness. This is known as androgenic alopecia. Hair on the scalp get thinner and fall out. So loss of scalp terminal hairs, that is the common with baldness. Then darkening of the skin, that is acanthosis nigricans. Mucocutaneous pigment eruption we can see here, and these dark patches of the skin can be seen on the neck, in the groin and under the breast. Sometimes because of these hormonal changes, we can see headaches in some women. So these are the common signs and symptoms which are explained in PCOS, which we can see in the patients of PCOS. Now we try to elaborate the dosha dominance in these symptoms. In PCOS, kapha predominance manifests as increased weight, infertility, hirsutism, diabetic tendencies and coldness. As vata dominance, we can see painful menses, scanty or less menstrual flow, severe menstrual irregularities. These are because of vata dominance. And pitta dominance, there are hair loss, baldness, acne, sashabda, sashula menses, sadaha, sashula menses. These are specifically seen in pitta dominance. So, if we see the PCOS as a clinical feature of artavakshaya, because artavakshaya lakshanas are explained, and they are alpa or kshudra, praman and avadhi of artava. That is both praman of artava and duration of bleeding. Both are alpa. So this may be considered as reduced menstrual flow in days and quantity. That is 3 to 5 days only. With 4 Anjali Pramana, this is normal. It is below 3 days and below 35 ml according to modern science. Then second Lakshana explained in Artavakshaya, that is Yoni Vedana. It is due to vitiation of Apana Vayu and with Kapha Vritta Vayu and obstruction in menstrual flow. This depletes Artava and so there is Vedana. If this PCOS we can see as a clinical feature of Pushpagni Jataharini, we have already seen Vrutha Pushpam Tuya Nari Yatha Kalam Prapashyati Sthula Lomashaganda Va Pushpagni. So if we see this PCOS clinical features as Pushpagni Yoni Vapor, then Vrutha Pushpam, that is anovulation, Sthula means obese, and Lomashaganda means hairy chin or hirsutism. These are explained in our granthas. So overall, PCOS affects female life. It causes infertility because having higher than normal androgen levels affect fertility, and women who don't ovulate regularly don't release as many eggs as to be fertilized, then there is infertility. Then obesity, this is one of the effect in female life. Near about 80% females are suffering from obesity, overweight, and these are increasing risk for high blood pressure, high blood sugar, even high hyperlipidemia. These all metabolic disorders trigger and may causes diabetes, heart disease, stroke in females with PCOS in later life. Sleep apnea is one of the effect of this PCOS in female life. Here, sleep apnea and overweight, both are risk factors. The female causes repeated pauses in breathing during night and which interrupts her sleep. This is what sleep apnea. Then endometrial cancer is very common in females with PCOS because during ovulation the uterine lining sheds. If female don't ovulate every month, the lining can build up and a thickened uterine lining can increase risk of endometrial cancer. Depression. Now we see hormonal changes in females, so there are mental and physical changes. This and again there is excessive hair growth, hirsutism. This negatively affect female emotions and it may end up with depression or anxiety. So these are the effects in female life. Now we will see for the investigations. PCOS is diagnosed on different investigations. First, hormonal assay. It is very important to diagnose PCOS. Hormonal assay, here LH-FSH ratio is important. It is reversed. Then estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, androstenedione, SHBG, that is sex hormone binding globulin, prolactin, TSH, T3, T4, fasting insulin level. These all hormones are responsible for PCOS and we called it as Rasadhatvagni, Raktadhatvagni, Medadhatvagni. So these Agni, that is energy transforming factors, if they get vitiated, there is abnormality. Increased free testosterone and normal testosterone, it is called as hyperandrogenemia. Increased DHEA, that is dehydroepiandrosterone. Then increased LH, normal FSH, and LH-FSH ratio reversed. This is common cause. Increased estradiol and estrone, these two derivatives of estrogen hormones. Increased fasting insulin levels and decreased SHBG, that is sex hormone binding globulin. These all are major hormonal assays which reflects PCOS. Now, with this hormonal assay, we have to think for metabolic disorders. So, patient must be get investigated for these metabolic disorders, and so therefore fasting blood glucose levels, GTT, glucose tolerance test, glycosylated hemoglobin, HbA1c, fasting insulin levels can be measured in this PCOS patient. Again, hyperlipidemia is one of the cause. So because obesity is one of the cause, so lipid panel should be ruled out. And here total cholesterol, then triglycerides, they get elevated. LDL, HDL, VLDL, then HDL LDL ratio should be calculated. And last but one, not the least, that is pelvic ultrasound scan. That is also again important in PCOS. The ovarian features of polycystic ovaries can be seen by this pelvic ultrasound scan. Near about 75% patients have polycystic ovarian cyst. But if the patient goes for transvaginal ultrasonography, then at least one ovary should have a volume greater than 10 cubic centimeter and should have more than or equal to 12 follicles or cystic follicles measuring near about 2 to 9 mm in diameter on ovaries. Then it is diagnostic for PCOS. And in ultrasonography, endometrial hyperplasia should be ruled out. So these all are the investigations that can be carried out during PCOS. So pelvic ultrasound scan, it is helpful for identify the follicles, that is kapha vritta vayu follicles, multiple, so it is vat vitiation, and thickening of endometrium, that is stana kapha. That can be, if there is hyperplasia of endometrium, then that stana kapha, their lechan is expected. So on Ayurvedic perspectives also we can interpret these results of investigations. Hyperlipidemia, hyperinsulin resistance, these all are medavritta vayu, medasya vritta margatvat. So this is again a cause. In even artav dosh nash, दोषैः अवृत्तमार्गत्वात् आर्तवं नश्यति स्त्रियाः. दोषैः अवृत्तमार्गत्वात् आर्तवं नश्यति स्त्रिया, that is explained. And atra doshaha कफो वायुः, as it is explained by Dalhana in Tika. So कफावृत्त vayu, they are responsible for margasya avruttvat. And this margasya avruttvat can be explained by evaluating this insulin and this lipid panel. So this is about investigations. So I will conclude this lecture in Ayurvedic perspectives, how PCOS can be identified. PCOS is basically a disease of Artava Srotas, where Rasava Srotas, Raktava Srotas, Medava Srotas and Annava Srotas should be taken care of. Then Avarana is the main pathogenesis in PCOS, where Kapha-Vritta Vayu is the basic concept. Paraspara Avaran can be taken into consideration. Then Kapha-Medo related Dosha Dushya Sammurchana is seen. So Kapha-Medo related Dosha Dushya Sammurchana, that is hyperinsulinemia, that is also is important. Sthaulya Samprapti and Kaphaja Prameha Sampraptis are the key areas to be explored here. And in PCOS, kapha dominant granthis are seen in ovaries. So these granthis are developed when there is sanga of srotas. And due to this, nigdha and guruguna of kapha are to be taken care of. These granthis with strong kapha platform inhibits artav, leading to artavrodh. So collectively, we have to think, taking individual patient as in different perspectives, and diagnose the PCOS on Ayurvedic parameters: dosha, dhatu, upadhatu, mala, indriya, avaya. So this is about PCOS in Ayurvedic perspective. Thank you for patient listening. Thank you.